Well, let's bring in my next guest here. You know her well, the New York Post's editor-at-large, Kelly Jane Torrance. Kelly, thanks for joining me on this 4th of July weekend here. All sorts of stuff to talk about, but I want to talk about this thing that happened this week where Donald Trump toured a new migrant detention camp for criminal migrants in the Florida Everglades. We flagged it here first on this program last week, and he's calling it Alligator Alley. Though, I don't know, maybe Gator Gitmo would be better. Here's a bit of Trump explaining how the Gators will keep the inmates from escaping.
If they escape prison, how to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%. Okay? Not a good thing.
Well, as amusing as that is, Democrats and the left are, of course, up in arms here, which brings to mind the question, what is it about illegal criminal migrants, because this is for criminal migrants, that they take the side of these people against Americans and they wonder why they're losing?
I mean, that's a great question, James, and I think every Democrat in America should have to answer that question. Yeah, Alligator Alcatraz, as it's also called, it's quite amazing. And Trump, when he announced it, he had a bit of fun. He said that, Biden would like him to have ended up there. But he's having fun, but it's a serious issue. I mean, you look at the amount of crime caused by the people that are going to be populating that prison. And what's also amazing is how quickly they got it together. You know, this was something that had been used for storms, and in a matter of weeks, they put enough infrastructure there to be able to house a lot of these violent criminal migrants who the Democrats, yes, are preferring to American citizens and American immigrants who are here legally and law. It's quite incredible, but I'm seeing Democrats on Twitter and elsewhere, claiming it's a concentration camp. Nobody is going to be gassed there, and they are going to get their 3 square meals a day. I know a lot of Jewish friends who are quite insulted that the left is actually calling that a concentration camp.
Yeah, well, I mean, Trump would have to be the worst Hitler ever, given his foreign policy when it comes to Israel and his support for the Jewish community in the United States. But what are you going to do? Hey, I want to also go to another big story, and this one got a little bit missed this week here with everything else going on with the big, beautiful bill. But it's the University of Pennsylvania, which, of course, was the center of the Leah Thomas transgender athletes case. Now, they have said they are going to retroactively strip transgender swimmer Leah Thomas of her records and titles as part of a big deal with the Education Department. And they're going to get a large amount of the funding that they had lost from the Trump administration back. This does seem like a huge win for common sense. But again, this is one of those issues where the Democrats wind up on the wrong side of it compared to, well, probably about 80% again of Americans.
Yeah, even Democrats are with Donald Trump and Republicans on this issue. Your average Democrat voter, that is, not, of course, the lawmakers. When there was a bill in Congress about this, to have women's sports be actually women, not a single Democrat voted in favor. Not one, James. It's incredible. And yet, here we are. And I have to say, to me, this is a huge win, as you said, for common sense. And also just, morality. I mean, this is not something that Donald Trump is doing to try to, get some more money so he can spend it somewhere. He's not trying to, lower someone's taxes so they'll donate more. It's nothing of typical politics. This is literally just because it's the right thing to do. It is wrong to have biological men competing in women's sports. And Donald Trump knows that, and his administration has said it's not going to happen anymore. And in fact, the fact that it even happened at all is wrong. We are going to make you retroactively give the awards to the women who actually won them. And again, this is not for money or anything. This is because it is the right thing to do. How often do we see politicians doing something simply because it's the right thing to do?
Well, yeah, all too rarely, I'd say. But Also, just on the subject of victories for this administration, this was an interesting one to me because it also goes to the heart not just of the issue of picking the wrong side of these things, but also the way certain parties tried to tip the scales in some of these elections that we've had. And Paramount Global, which is the parent company of CBS News, they've agreed to a $16 million settlement in a lawsuit brought by President Trump over 60 minutes deceptively editing an interview. Now, what tells me here is that maybe that they're less concerned about the editing, but that they're settling so soon, they're actually really concerned about the discovery phase, what going to trial would reveal about the way these left-wing news organizations worked to try and tilt the truth and try to deny Donald Trump a victory.
And James, that's an insight that a lot of people here in America are missing. A lot of people are saying, oh, they capitulated, they're scared of Trump, but they didn't realize the real reason. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. Discovery. In the discovery period, that's when, the opposition's lawyers get to look at the emails, get to look at the phone records, all of this stuff. And it's really incredible. I mean, this happens all the time in journalism. The mainstream media doing their best to get Democrats elected. This was just one of the few times we actually saw a little bit of what happened behind the scenes, because they released a clip as a tease that had one of the famous Kamala Harris word salads.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I assume, someone probably in the White House and the Democratic Party said, hey, can you change that? And by the time they aired it, they had actually deleted the word salad and had him asking the same question and her giving a different answer from another part of the interview. You rarely see how the sausage is made, so to speak. But in this case, you did. It was such an obvious example. And, this happens all the time. You just don't get to see it. But one of my favorite parts of this settlement is that apparently there's also going to be, worth in the mid-8 figures. So we're talking, tens of millions of dollars of advertisements and public service announcements that CBS is going to have to air on behalf of conservative causes. And we know that John Whitaker, who did that interview with Kamala Harris, was apparently teary-eyed when the settlement was announced in a staff meeting. I can only imagine his tears and the other liberal tears that are going to flow when CBS News is forced to air conservative PSAs. It's going to be great to see.
That is so fantastic, and I love that they are going to be forced to air the stuff that they don't want to air and have suppressed. Anyway, Kelly Jane Torrance, thanks so much for joining me this 4th of July. Have a great 4th.